Hey everyone, thanks for watching today's video. This is Kyle here at Class for Despairs, and today we're going to be working on part 2 of the Sunset Tripper clutch rebuild. In this video, we're going to clean and inspect all clutch components. If any components have damage or wear, we will replace them. If you haven't seen part 1 of the clutch rebuild, I highly recommend watching part 1 before you watch part 2. So without further ado, let's get our hands dirty and get back to work. So first things first, we have Curtis here. Look at that smile on his face. Check out that cool jacket. He's got all the clutch components and he's going to take it to our solvent tank and he's going to wash every component to make sure that there's no grease, oil, or any type of debris. Obviously, safety here is a big concern at CBS, so Curtis is going to put on his fresh pair of pink gloves that he stole from his girlfriend and he's going to clean every single component. Hopefully she doesn't find out what happened to her pink gloves, but if you look very closely, the solvent itself is actually deteriorating the glove. But back to work, he's doing really good cleaning everything up. The basket, the chain, the primary cover, everything's looking really good. Now that all the components have been thoroughly cleaned in the tank, we're going to wash all the parts off with water. I've always had good luck using water. I don't really get any type of flash rust considering that the solvent usually leaves some type of residue behind. Now that all the components have been washed off with water, we have to blow everything off. So Curtis here is using the air compressor and he's blowing all the moisture and basically any particles and dirt that's left behind or lodged in the parts. Everything gets clean and blown out, followed up by some carburetor cleaner to get rid of any type of moisture or residue left behind. So this is what it looks like when you have all the components laid out on the table. All components are clean, free of dirt, debris, and oil. So now we'll start doing some inspection. The major components that need to be checked is the front sprocket, the drive sprocket, the clutch basket, as well as the clutch hub. So the final drive sprocket looks pretty good to me. We have the engine sprocket. That looks good as well. No wear on the teeth. I don't see anything out of the normal. Typically those last a very long time. And then we have the clutch basket here. So the clutch basket's in really nice shape. The teeth and the race are in great condition, but the tabs where the clutch plates drive the basket does show signs of wear that we have to address. Next up is the inner hub, and we have the same result and the same type of wear that we typically saw on the clutch basket. These type of grooves usually happen when you drop the clutch, pop the clutch, doing wheelies, basically when you're being very hard on the clutch. But based off what I see, there's not enough wear to replace the hub, so we can actually address that. Next up is the trapdoor cover. We'll have to replace the inside seal, and I'll have Curtis remove some of the corrosion and gasket that's still left behind. Curtis is going to start addressing the wear on the clutch hub and the clutch basket, so he's going to use a file. This is a very fine file that can be used on metal. So essentially what he's doing here is he's gripping the file from one end to the other, and he's going back and forth to remove any type of high spots that has developed. So basically the tabs and all the wear, we want to be able to knock that down in the groove and on top of the groove. As he's starting to work around the hub, I've been doing some inspecting and also checking his work, and based off what I see, I think Curtis is doing a really good job and will have a great hub that should last a long time. Now that the clutch hub is done, Curtis is going to put the clutch basket inside the vise, and he's going to be using a diamond lap to be able to get the grooves that have developed on the inside. There's some very sharp edges that need to be knocked down, so Curtis is taking his time trying to address all the issues in the basket. Now that Curtis is done, this is what it currently looks like. So we have no more sharp edges and we don't have anything protruding in the slot, so the basket looks really good. Here's Curtis doing what he does best, finding parts. He's replacing all the components that need to be worn on the Sunset Tripper, so new primary cover gasket, rotor, stator, seals, and some other components. Now that Curtis has picked all the parts, we're going to remove the seal from the trap door. We're going to use a basic socket on the arbor press to be able to push it out. Once we push out the seal, we're going to press in the new seal. Now that the old seal has been removed and the new seal installed, we're going to start working on the trap door. Curtis is putting some WD-40 around the circumference, and he's using a very fine stone to remove the corrosion and the existing gasket. Big shout out to my buddy Tim Taylor at Taylor's Motor House back east. He sent me these stones, and these stones he swears by. So much better using a stone than a gasket scraper. Thanks, Tim. Now that the trap door has been prepared, we still have to remove the gasket from the actual case itself. Once the gasket's removed, we're going to have Curtis clean the entire drive side case using some O'Reilly's brake cleaner. Now that the drive side case is nice and clean, Curtis is going to use the same stone on the trapdoor gasket surface area to remove any type of gasket material and high spots that are left behind. Check that out. Nice and clean, no gasket, no high spots. It's all prepared. Next up, we're going to grab our new high gear seal and we're going to insert it into the case. I'm going to use a round stock material that I have. The OD is very close to the OD of the seal. Then we're going to use a brass mallet and tap the seal in place. It's really important that the seal goes in square and fully seated all the way around. Now that the high gear seal has been installed, we want to do some visual inspections. Basically, what we're looking for is make sure that the seal is sitting flush and square and not crooked. To prevent any type of oil leaks that could possibly leak around the seal, we're going to use my favorite gasket maker, Yamabond number 4, and we're going to have Curtis apply the gasket sealer all the way around the OD of the seal. I understand that this looks messy and excessive, but we're dealing with a gearbox, and I've always done it this way, and I've had really good success. Now that the Yamabond has been applied and cleaned up around the OD of the seal, I'm going to have Curtis install the final dry sprocket. Now that the sprocket has been installed, I'm going to have Curtis apply more Yamabond. The reason why we're going to be using more Yamabond is simply because oil will work its way through the splines. But if I seal the splines and install the tab washer, there shouldn't be any oil to work past the splines and past the sprocket. Now that the tab washer is in place, Curtis is going to install the high gear nut. Once the nut is installed, he's going to use the chain to lock the sprocket to torque everything down. So here you have it. We feel very confident that there will be no oil leaks coming from the seal or down the splines. All right, so there you have it. That's going to wrap up today's video. This was part 2 of the clutch rebuild. Don't forget to check out part 3 when it's completed. Part 3 is going to be the clutch assembly. If you guys really enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy some of our other videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you can always leave us a comment below. You can also pick up your own Sunset Tripper shirt, the same shirt that Curtis is modeling. Isn't it amazing?